Hello, besties. I'm here with my bestie, Tori.
And I'm here with my bestie, Reed and Corduroy.
Welcome back to another episode of My Emotional Support Besties. How's everybody doing? Are we doing a collective sigh right now? I think we're doing a collective sigh.
I think there's been a lot of people taking some much needed deep breaths lately.
We're going to let you know at the top of this episode that this is a different episode than normal. We're your emotional support besties. A lot of time, the emotional support we like to provide is levity, but sometimes it's not going to be the best support.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to make this an episode where we just can, one, be here with you guys, and two, bring in one of our besties to share her experience from Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think we were feeling the need to be human. Right now we wanted to focus on the city of Minneapolis and hear from our bestie Nicole, who is living there right now, to share, I think, authentically what's happening and share the emotional support that community is providing each other right now. I think it's a really good episode. I think Nicole sheds a lot of light on some really, really good things that were really good to hear.
Yeah, she shared a really poignant post the other day about her experience living in Minneapolis right now, about the terror, the fear, and anger permeating daily life, especially, of course, for the immigrant communities who live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also throughout all of the United States right now, seeing these ICE agents cruelly go after these communities. There are children being taken away from home, from school. At this point, I'm sure we've all seen the image of the 5-year-old boy, Liam Ramos, who was taken by ICE. There are people who are vanishing. There was a man dragged from his home with no shirt on in the freezing cold. Nicole shared how there are signs on her daily walks that say ICE abducted somebody on this spot on 1/7/26. And then, of course, the murder of Renee Good, the murder of Alex Pretti. 2 people who were murdered by ICE for standing up for their neighbors and saying that it is wrong and unjust to be tearing families apart. And while faced with so much hate and so much cruelty from ICE, from border control, from the government, on the other side of that, the neighborhood community and everybody in Minneapolis is coming together with so much compassion, humanity, and dignity to support their community and their neighbors. You know, we find so much emotional support from relying on each other, relying on our friends and community. And it was really beautiful to hear her message of how her community, her neighbors are doing that right now and putting it into action as well.
I think there's a lot of people just very boldly speaking up and not hesitating to act too. And so I think it was a really good reminder of how we can show up that way in our community, because I don't think we're seeing the end of what we're seeing happen in Minneapolis. And I know it's happening as well in other cities, but I think it was a good reminder of how we can continue to show up for each other regardless of what it is that we face. So for me, it was a really good reminder. And I know Nicole's been updating us too throughout her experience and vulnerably sharing. And so I think it was really, I think it's a gift that she wanted to share it with other people.
We're excited for you guys to join the conversation. We'll have that come on right after this, but it was really wonderful. We're so grateful to Nicole. Thank you so much for coming on. You'll hear in the interview too, her and her husband moved to Minneapolis from Portland only, 7 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new place for her. They're making their roots there. And so it's really great to hear her perspective. She shares some ways that you can support from afar.
She talked about the beauty of Minneapolis and Minnesota as a state. Like, you could tell, like, if she was going to land anywhere and this was going to happen, I'm grateful that it's a place like this where the people are so absolutely incredible and focused on each other.
We hope you enjoy. We are joined here with one fourth. Well, it's actually kind of three fourths of
Correct.
our Fab Four, but one fourth Nicole of our Fab Four friends. Nicole, hi. Where are you streaming in from?
Oh, thank you for having me. Again, this is my third time on the pod, which is very exciting. I think we may have mentioned this the last time I was on the pod, but I am based in Minneapolis. So life has been a little crazy.
We were really inspired because Nicole shared some beautiful words about her experience over the past few weeks being in Minneapolis, about obviously the grief and all just the fear of the awful things happening, but also the bright spots too. And we wanted to be able to share that with our listeners, with you all. And so we also wanted to connect with our friend. We
Hmm.
miss our friend and we love our friend.
I think it's
Well,
also important too to have like we're I'm not taking for granted the fact that we have someone who's in it and experiencing it and willing to talk to us about what's happening. And I think a lot of people don't have that. So I think also just an opportunity to hear from someone who is seeing it firsthand is important.
yeah, I appreciate it. I think that I will say too, though, like even though it is different being in the city, I think that it's still impacting everybody. And so,
Mhm.
like, I think the feelings that everybody is having are very real and very impactful for like the difference that they can make as well. I'm pulling up my notes here because I wanted to make sure, like, first and foremost, like, I acknowledge that I probably don't have all of the right words to say or to describe everything. And so I did take some notes just to like make sure that I was kind of trying to do it justice. In some ways, I also feel a little bit like an imposter because I have lived in Minneapolis for almost 7 months now, 6.5 months now. So it's definitely a different experience than people who have lived here for longer or have lived here for their whole lives or who immigrated here and chose to build their lives in this city. So, I'll try to do it justice, but yeah, I just acknowledging that probably don't have all the right things to say, but if I can at least share a little bit of like what we're seeing on the ground and especially like you all said, the positive things, I wouldn't say like positive things, but really the hope that people and community are building here in Minneapolis and the city is right now.
It's very interesting to get your perspective on this because obviously, like you said, I think everybody's heart is with Minneapolis right now and everybody's feed is as well. And so being able to have what you've been seeing and experiencing, um, has been really great for just kind of taking it off of a headline and putting it into
Mhm.
like real life and real
Mhm.
perspective. And yeah, I would love to hear a little bit just about what it has done and like shifted for your day to day. Like, what is that looking like these days lately?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in some ways, so what I had posted about yesterday and what I kind of keep coming back to is when people keep asking me like, oh, what's it like living in Minneapolis right now? I just really feel like it's living like two sides of the same coin. One where there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of fear. It permeates daily life where you're getting texts from your neighbors about things they're seeing or updates they have. You're checking, maps online to see if there's been reports of things happening in your neighborhood. And so it definitely like permeates daily life to where, I work from home. And so it's like I'm sitting here doing my work, doing all this stuff, but then all of a sudden your mind is like, oh, well, what's happening down the street
Mhm.
from me. And so it just kind of encroaches on daily life like that. But I will like think that like the biggest thing that I want to share with everybody is like that sense of community, I think that is something that I personally have never experienced in another place that I've lived.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my life and especially in my adult life. It's there's this expression, it's Minnesota nice is the expression. And I think that a lot of people have heard that expression, but I think that it's misunderstood or misconstrued. And, I think that when you like think about the phrase Minnesota nice or like what I've learned living here is that it's not being a pushover or
Mm-hmm.
standing down from things or standing back from things when they need when change or needs to happen. But Minnesota Nice really is all about like being kind to your neighbors, caring for strangers, and like really rallying around community. Like every single neighborhood here has a group chat or like a signal chat. On Saturday after, the news that came out on Saturday, within hours, every single neighborhood had information that they were sharing with their neighbors and passing down to their neighbors about vigils that were being stood up. Um, and really at the like very, very hyper local neighborhood grassroots level is something that's like been so interesting for me to see because like I said, it's not something that I've really experienced in my adult life, especially where like you are doing things and supporting organizations and responding to neighbor requests and things like that at like a level where you're like this is impacting somebody that lives 5 doors down from me or down the street from me. A lot of the time I feel like when you're doing providing mutual aid or doing that kind of work, it's more at even like the city level where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel as close to what's happening, but this is like at the neighborhood level, which is so interesting and like honestly really inspiring to see the organizing at that level because it means that there are so many people in all of these different pockets of the city that care so much about
Yeah.
organizing to make a difference that you have the function and the ability to make an impact at that level. So
Yeah.
I think that's like really something that stood out to me. And I mean, you saw that I'm just like looking through my notes at some of the examples that I wrote down. You saw that in the march on Friday where like people were coming out in -30 wind chills just to
Mm-hmm.
say like, hey, we want to be there for our community and for our neighbors. I got a text today from my neighborhood group chat. There's a local church in our community that actually had to halt registrations for new volunteers because so many people wanted to help and so many people wanted to sign up
Wow.
to organize food donation boxes for families. So I think it's just like, really all about that. To me, it's like all about that really deep humanity and dignity for people that have chosen this place. I mean, it's winter here right now,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in Minnesota, and like I said, people were marching in -30 wind chills. So it's not an easy place to live, especially in the winter, or in the winter. I mean, it's beautiful and amazing, and everybody should come visit, especially in the summer when we have all of the beautiful lakes and the state fair and all of that. But I think that because it's not an easy place to live all the time and
Mm-hmm.
year round, there's this like deep respect for people who have chosen to live and make a life and build a home here. So yeah, that's kind of a very long-winded way of t like how I've started to reflect about what's kind of been taking place here. And I know that we all kind of hear some of the stories of this, but it's so hard to express just like how deeply rooted that
Yeah.
sense of community is. And I think that the or level of organization for neighbors and for our community is just like you can't even describe it.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing because it's it's sad that it's in these
Yeah.
moments where it's like this is so apparent, but then the beautiful side of that is like we all rely on each other, whether we like are face to face with it or not. Like we all rely on our neighbors, and now it's like okay, we're putting that into action. And so I thought it was just so powerful to see like the group chats that you're in and stuff, and to know those are your neighbors. Because like when I think about it, I was like, I have three of my neighbors' phone numbers right now. And like I live right next to them.
Mhm.
And it's so beautiful to like see that sense of community want to come together and like, yeah, just there's no thought in it. It's like, yes, this is what we have to do. This is what
What
we're
we do.
doing. Yeah, this is what we do.
So like cheesy, but I've like seen, and this is like so ridiculous, but I've seen people invoke this a couple of times where it's like, being in the Great North, it's like Game of Thrones, like the
Mm-hmm.
North remembers. And I think that about that, like we remember in the sense of like we will remember for a long time how we treated our neighbors, how you stepped up, how you
Mm-hmm.
were able to like create community in a time
Mm-hmm.
that feels like really dark or really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I just think that's like kind of funny, but I also think it's like pretty relevant. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, I don't want to put you on the spot if you're like, oh, I don't have a list of things to whatever to offer this, but I think too a lot of this feeling too of people, because like it's obviously happening everywhere, right? ICE has been placed in a lot of places. There's a lot of this happening, but this feeling of helplessness, I think, for seeing it and wanting to do something. Do you feel like you're seeing um ways that we can
yeah,
impact too from afar, and just ideas of you're like, this is working here, do this in your
right.
area?
Yeah, I think
Well, I
that's
think,
big. Is
yeah,
like I think everywhere should be prepared for whatever
Hmm.
yeah.
what's happening in Minneapolis. The goal would will be to happen everywhere, I'm sure, but hopefully the pressure continues and that doesn't end up being the case. But like y- yeah, what have you learned that
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I find it so amazing. And so, like, one of the things that I find so incredible is all of the different ways that people have just really, really quickly stood up and figured out how to help in so many different ways. And I'll give a few examples of that. One is probably the one that you've heard about the most is people picking up groceries and bringing meals to their neighbors that are afraid to leave their homes right now. But like there are so many different examples of like you'd be like, "Oh, I never even thought about that being a need, but it makes sense." And like the fact that somebody thought about it
Hmm.
and has created a system around it is so interesting. So like another one is people who have been detained and have had their cars like in the middle of a street and just have had their cars abandoned. There's a towing company here that has set up that is providing free like if your car gets towed like they will like there's a fund set up where you don't have to pay to like get your car back or like people setting up ecosystems for supporting pets if pets are
Hmm.
abandoned in a house that is empty now, or gosh, just so many rental assistance. Uh, in the aftermath, like it happens so organically and so quickly too. Like in the aftermath of the shooting on Saturday, there's a restaurant that is a very, very well-known, like very busy brunch spot that's in the city that is a block away from where the shooting happened. And they immediately closed down for regular business for the day, but opened their doors to provide coffee, water, hot chocolate, medical aid, things like that for anybody in the community that just needed a space to get warm, take a breath. And so I think just like so many of these are organic things where I think people are looking, like everybody brings unique skills, unique like ways that they can help. And so I think that this like really organic way of people being like, hey, I do this or I know this and I can help in that way and that's going to help somebody in my neighborhood is something that I think is like very, very unique to how Minneapolis has responded and organized. But I think that a lot of cities can learn from that and just like the smallest things can be a really huge help in so many different ways. But then a lot of these funds or small businesses or organizations that are doing a lot of this work, they have funds that they have set up. So a lot of them are have been aggregated into standwithminnesota.com, and that's probably the best like one-stop shop resource for finding all of the different ways that people are helping that may need support, whether it be actual physical goods or monetary donations or even just like getting the word out about something. So definitely if you're not in Minnesota, I would recommend going to standwithminnesota.com to learn more.
That's awesome. I feel like social media has been a really helpful tool in that of like things I didn't even realize, right? If I didn't live there or whatever, or even things here in moments of crisis too, like have popped up that it's always surprising. And it's surprising just like the businesses will pop up and get creative with
Yeah.
how they can support too. Like bookstores being like, oh, I'm going to support with this amount of our proceeds this weekend to help with the food boxes, or we'll use our delivery trucks to deliver those.
Mhm.
We're partnering like exactly what you said. What do you have at your disposal? Like there's probably barely anything that wouldn't be helpful at some point.
Or
Mhm.
So yeah,
all the people
And
with 3D printers being able to print the
mhm,
whistles and stuff
yeah,
too.
yeah,
yeah.
I will say too, I guess it's also not, maybe this is just like going back to this idea of like in moments of crisis, it can show both like the worst and the best of
Mm-hmm.
humanity. And so I hate to make the parallel, but it's probably like, of course, the most recent like big crisis that we all experience. Like same thing, similar things happened during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
where, doctors and hospitals and nurses couldn't get PPE, but
Yep.
companies that did not make any of that
Mm-hmm.
before, but had production facilities to switch and do something similar. So I guess it just
Mm-hmm.
like maybe it isn't unique to Minneapolis or Minnesota, but just the ingenuity and the like creativity of ways to help people is like are so boundless. And I think that is something
Mm-hmm.
that gives a lot of hope.
Yeah. Think outside the box. Think of ways that you could fill a need for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
People who aren't in Minneapolis, what do you want them to know?
I guess, you know, gosh, it's like it feels like I said, it's like the imposter syndrome of like feeling like the worst messenger for like the thing that people should know, right? Given that I've lived here for 6 months. But I do think that like if I wanted people who didn't know much about Minneapolis or who don't know much about Minnesota, like if they were listening to come away with, I guess I just want people to know like it is a beautiful and incredible and vibrant community and a vibrant city. And I think that, it's Minneapolis, it's Minnesota, it's the Midwest. You don't really think about, um, I don't think that a lot of people probably haven't even thought about Minneapolis before all of this. And so I think that just like come come visit, come see what it's about
Yeah.
because like one thing that um Ryan and I have continued to talk about all the time since we've moved to Minneapolis is it's not like other cities don't appreciate it, but there is this like overwhelming sense of people just truly enjoying the spaces and places and nature that the city both naturally has to offer and also that have been created. Like, especially in the summer, we were always just so struck by it would be 5 o'clock on a Monday night or a Tuesday night. And so many people would just be like out at one of the many, many lakes that we have in the
Mm.
city, listening to live music, enjoying like where it's like, I just don't feel like I've experienced that level of just wanting to be in public with people, with community in other places that I've lived. So I guess that would just be my message is like Minneapolis is a great city and a great community in so many different ways, and people truly appreciate what they have here. So just something that you might not know about this little city in the Midwest.
I love that. Wow, like it's been I'm so heartbroken for you in the sense where I'm like, oh, this new chapter in this new place, like it's so fresh and exciting that you're in this new place. And I've been heartbroken that you're going through this experience. And on the other side of that, if we use the metaphor you used earlier of that coin, on the other side of that heartbreak, I also am like, wow, what?
a all-encompassing way to join that community too, to just fully immerse and be a part of it. And now forevermore, you're going to like have these deep connections with your neighbors and like feel that's your home. That's your home. You're standing up for your home. You're standing up for your neighbors. And I'm just so incredibly proud of you. I miss you. I wish we could be there with you.
I appreciate it. You all will come visit soon. I
Yes.
know.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Maybe I'll have to get you to come out during state fair season. You
I
can
mean,
experience
Yes.
the state fair. I also just wanted to say like thanks to you both. I think that when I think about this podcast that you have going on, at the end of the day, like it's my emotional support besties, but I also think that like at the end of the day, that's about like the community and the that you choose to create and the people that the company you choose to keep in your life and who gives you support and who doesn't. And so I guess like just want to say thanks for like creating space to share a little bit about the community that's being created in Minnesota right now.
Oh, we love you.
I think that's very close to our heart. Community is exactly what is one of our top priorities in life. And that's why I think I'm feeling so, I mean, I'll be heartbroken for any community that experiences this, but I think because I've seen the resilience and beauty and kindness, like it's not even nice, because I think sometimes nice is surface level. Like I think it's almost like Minnesota kind. Like they're demonstrating for the world right now what it looks like to be a neighbor and a friend.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the perfect depiction of what, we value, and I know you value.
And that it's radiating across the entire nation. Like it's making such a huge impression. And I know like there's a level of hope in that as well, where it's like, this is what it means to be united.
Yep.
Like to care. And it's been just really great to be able to have your insight, and thank you for sharing your experience. And we are thinking about you. We are sending you strength and love. And whenever you need levity, we'll send you levity.
We got you.
Can't do the new like Gen Z.
I know. How do they?
But there's also like have you seen the ones where
it's
wait, what is it? It's
That's
like
wild.
that. It's that, right?
well, I think I don't
I don't know
know.
if my fingers can even do that.
I'll just do
Way
too old for that.
I know. Well, everybody, I think we all gained a lot from that conversation. Thank you again to Nicole for spending her time speaking with us. I think selfishly we loved getting some time with her, to catch up with her and hear from her super wise mind, and lovely representation of the beauty and joy that is Minneapolis. But yeah, I think we just want everybody to have a great week and share this with somebody. That's really all I'll say this week. I don't even really care about the rest of the stuff. If you need to share this with anybody to keep them informed about what's happening, go for it.
We're sending our love and our hearts to Minneapolis. To Nicole, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And to all of you listening, we will be back next week, next Wednesday. We love you all. Stay safe out there, and
We love you.